My name is Deemer Class, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber. Sidearm whip, scores!
Now in front, Fidel scores! Ball Rabel, splits two and scores!
Kylie O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Kelly, not shy, bounces one home! What a start!
Welcome to Pro Lacrosse Talk, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we're bringing you interviews with your favorite players and coaches, as well as news from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. All right, welcome to another episode of Pro Lacrosse Talk. I'm Hutton, and today I'm joined by former Duke standout, 2-time national champion, and current Chaos Lacrosse Club midfielder, Deemer Class. Deemer, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me, Hutton. Excited to be on here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit on Twitter trying to get you on, and we finally made it happen, so I'm excited today.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so Deemer, you're a Baltimore native. You played at Loyola Blake Field, but you found your way down to Durham to play for Coach Danowski at Duke. You hold the midfield record for goals in a season with 50 in 2016. You're just one of 6 midfielders in NCAA Division I lacrosse history to score 50 goals in a season, and you finished your career with a total of 201 career points and are one of 6 midfielders in NCAA history to reach that 200-point mark. How was it playing at Duke for Coach Danowski and winning those 2 national championships?
It was definitely, some of the best years of my life. Obviously, with how things are going with pro lacrosse and my career after college, I'm hoping that it's not the peak, but it set the foundation for what I think is a really strong, opportunity after college. And I feel like I'm just really fortunate to have played for Coach Danowski, Coach Caputo, Matt Danowski, Ben DeLuca, guys like that. And so it's just been a really big blessing to have gone through the Duke program and be a part of it.
Awesome, yeah. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but me and you both received the same prestigious lacrosse honor while in college in 2014. We were both named to the Inside Lacrosse All-Name team. That's probably where the comparisons between you and me stop. I'm fortunate the award didn't require me stepping on the field. But I want to kind of talk about where you get the origin of your name, Deemer. Was it a family name, or did your parents just like the name?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people think that Deemer is not my real name. So I get a lot of people that come up to me and they're like, "What's your real name?" There's no way that's a name. All these things. And I happen to be the 4th, and my great grandfather was named Deemer. But my full name is William Deemer Class the 4th. So my dad goes by Bill. My grandfather went by Pete. Don't ask me how. but I'm definitely honored to try and carry on the legacy of my grandfather, great grandfather, and kind of follow in the footsteps of my dad and just trying to work hard and make them proud. So definitely carry the family name with honor. And I think next year I might have to add the IV onto the class on the back of my jersey. So anyone that's tuning in, you can let me know if you think that's a good idea or not.
All right, we'll have to put a poll up, but I think that's a great idea. Yeah, and my name's actually a family name as well, so I understand the sentiment. But on a more serious note, let's talk. You're coaching at USC now as an assistant. What led you to travel out west to coach the women's lacrosse game?
Honestly, so I tell everyone this story. I have 3 younger sisters. When I was coaching full time in Baltimore, doing training right out in New York, I started training a lot of girls and felt like there was an opportunity. And luckily, a couple people kind of mentioned the opening at USC to me, and I kind of threw my name in, not expecting much, and not really expecting myself to move cross country. But once I spent some more time in California, the opportunity presented itself, and it was one that, after talking with my parents and close supporters, I felt like I couldn't turn down. So it's been an amazing experience getting a new perspective and getting involved in the women's game while still being able to play professionally on the men's side. So I couldn't really ask for more right now at this stage of my life. So, I'm beyond blessed.
That's awesome. And going off of that, you run your own lacrosse business, First Class Lacrosse. You guys provide instruction for both the men's and women's game. Talk me through when you decided to start First Class Lacrosse, and tell me a little bit about your innovative approach to teaching, because you take the same approach for the men's and women's game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right out of school, I started running a training business with a close friend, not as much of a teammate, but training partner, Ryan Brown. We were both fortunate enough to work under Corey Casemeyer in Baltimore, Maryland. We both still do to this day when we're in town. But we kind of started our own business called RBDC Lacrosse, and we kind of ended up going separate ways simply because of different time commitments. And Ryan moved to Texas, and I moved out here to California, and so, I just kind of went my own route, doing similar training, but under the name of First Class Lacrosse. And from there, I've really made a push to keep developing the men's and women's side of, all offense, attack, midfield, dodging, shooting. Shooting is where we started, kind of teaching the art of shooting. But, I really like to think of myself as, full service coach, breaking down offenses. I do a lot of work with different high schools and club programs, kind of working on coaches sessions and helping people think about offense. And then I've made a big push in the last year to develop an online business and kind of teach and break down film and provide drill access to anyone, really in the world that can tune in through Instagram, through webinars. And that's been a big focus of mine lately as well, to try and just keep spreading my methods and things that I've learned, because, when I think about it, I'm really truly fortunate to have the coaches that I did growing up. I spent time, in the LTRC rec days with, guys like Jeff Brent and Wink Ruprecht, people, before that even, Tom Neubauer and Wade Dossis, Dave Emmerich, friends, dads who really instilled a love for the game, and then got to Loyola and played under Jack Crawford, Joe McFadden, and Bob Wright, Tim Sullivan, guys who played high-level Division I, coached All-American after All-American, and then obviously went on to work with the staff at Duke, and even now getting to learn from guys like Andy Towers and Matt Panetta. So it's really been a blessing, and so I'm really just taking all those things, and sorry, I forgot to mention Tori earlier, but really just taking the things I've learned from them, kind of just putting my spin on it and trying to make myself relatable and vulnerable to the players that I work with, and kind of let them know, like, hey, I'm still going through these things. I'm still getting better. I'm not at my peak, I don't think, and I'm not perfect either. So, I think some of the kids that I train really respect that, and it's been an exciting, kind of path into the game of lacrosse.
No, that's great. I've really enjoyed your redodging series that you recently released. I actually sent them to my younger brothers. One's going into high school, the other's in junior high right now, because I think they'll benefit from it. And the way you break it down is very simple, and I think that's important too, because you want to meet these kids where they're at, and I think you do a good job of that.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I do think it's a simple game. I think there's a lot of nuances, but I also think there's a lot of things that sometimes you just need to take a step back, keep it simpler, and just try to be really effective at doing the simple things really well. We always preach that at Duke, and we always felt like the teams that were successful in May, look at the Denvers, look at the Syracuses, the Marylands, the Yales, the Dukes of the world. Like, those teams every year are doing very basic concepts extremely well and extremely consistent. And that's kind of the way and method that I approach to my training. I think that, yes, like, I'm going to keep showing kids different moves and different ways to kind of add in nuances to take their games to the next level. And your athleticism and your game IQ will kind of be able to be displayed more when you can do those simple things really well.
No, yeah, that's some great advice. I think you got a good focus on your business. You mentioned Andy Towers, though. Let's talk a little bit now the pro game. First year under Coach Towers with the Chaos and the inaugural PLL season. How has Coach Towers gotten you guys to play at such a high level?
I think the thing that our whole team loves about Coach Towers is that he brings such a consistent energy and passion for being in the moment and attacking every challenge that's faced. I think when you're heading into a battle, so to speak, if you have your leader, your coach, not afraid to mix it up and welcome the challenge and be there with energy and fist bumping and chest pounding, I think it gets guys really motivated, and it makes it fun. Because at the end of the day, everyone is competing for spot and want to make their careers in lacrosse. So there can be some of that where it feels like not the game that you always played growing up. But Coach Towers does such a good job of bringing the energy that it allows us to kind of relax. And he always is the first one to kind of point at himself and be like, hey, I need to do better. I need to coach better. And he's not pointing individual guys out. He's trying to bring the collective forward. And so it's really been an exciting atmosphere to play for Coach Towers, and trying even to take some of his methods and approach to the game into how I teach, because, as any player knows, you can show up, in the pros just for a weekend, but in college, 6-7 days a week, if you can show up bringing energy and passion like that, I think it's just a whole other dynamic ways the teams play. So it's really exciting opportunity to play for coach. He's super supportive of all the guys. If you look at social media and interviews and stuff, he's just giving so much credit to all the different guys on our team, and I think guys really appreciate that, because they are the ones putting in the work and the time, but so is he. But for him to kind of just pass off and say, hey, make it look like it's all the players doing, I think that just goes a long way, because he's the first one to take the blame if we lose, but then he's giving all the credit to the players. And not that it needs to be like that, but I think it goes a really long way in terms of building a culture. So I know the Chaos Lacrosse Club is really excited to be led by Coach Towers.
No, that's great. And let's talk about the PLL on a macro level too. How has it been? You said you guys are having a lot of fun, and I think that's kind of what this new league has brought. But has the league met or exceeded your expectations, and what did you really expect going into it?
I think there was definitely question marks, as it is with any startup or new league or new division. But really, from day one, the service to the players, the attention to detail, a training camp, and with equipment and travel and everyone taking care of everyone's needs, I think it really raised the bar for what guys, are expecting in such a positive way. And, the staff, they don't get talked about enough, from the interns, on the PLL staff to all the full-time employees on the media team and the equipment team, everything. People approach every weekend with such a positive attitude that, when we're not around all week, to show up and have so many people so excited for every weekend just brings this kind of joy back to playing, where, myself and I'm sure other guys can kind of sit back and be like, wow, this is never something that we're going to take for granted, because it's such a special experience. And to see the growth even in year one, from fans week to week to viewership on NBC, it's just a really exciting time to be a part of the PLL. And they just continue to impress every week, and the venues are exciting, the stadiums are well picked, so it's just exciting to be a part of it and kind of hopefully continue to help spearhead the growth of Pro Lacrosse.
No, that's awesome. And let's actually talk some X's and O's a little bit here. So you guys are going to play the Whip Snakes for a chance to go to the championship in the playoffs. What are you looking forward to most in this matchup?
We beat the Whip Snakes last game, but they just had an incredible performance against the Redwoods, and they're continuing to gel and get better too. So, no road is going to be easy for any team, and we want to be playing our best lacrosse come September. So when it comes to the Whip Snakes, it's just going to be a battle. We saw that the first game of the season. We saw that the last time we played them in Denver, and, they have a lot of weapons on offense, a really sound defense, and great goalie play. So, we're going to have to, put everything together and give it our best shot.
It's going to be an exciting matchup. So tightly contested in those two games at the beginning of the season and then in the middle way of the season. So we're definitely looking forward to that playoff matchup. But with that wraps up the first half of our podcast. Stay tuned. We're going to have our 5 and 5 segment coming up. But let's first hear a word from our sponsor. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. We've been using Anchor for our podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast so it sounds great, and send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Better yet, they connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're interested in starting a podcast, download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, welcome back. So now we're going to go into our 5 and 5 segment. I'm going to ask Deemer 5 lacrosse-related questions, and I'll ask him 5 questions just about his life in general off the field. So first, let's start off with the lacrosse-related questions. What is a pregame superstition or routine that you have, Deemer?
A pregame routine that I have is simply making sure that I get out to warm-ups and getting shots a little closer to the net, dialing in my form, and then moving away from the cage as I get warmed up. I really approach it as a basketball shooter, trying to get dialed in my spots and then expand away from the cage.
No, that's good. That's good advice. What is the top song on your game day playlist?
Wow, that's a good one. I think the one that's been getting me fired up lately is "Losing It" by Fisher. That song really gets the people going.
All right, I like it. It's a good one. All right, number 3. Which of your PLL teammates has the most style or swagger?
Wow. Everyone is going to think this is a loaded question, and they're thinking I'm going to hand this off to Miles Jones. But someone who's really been impressing me lately and stepping up his A game is Blaze Reardon.
Wow.
Blaze is one that has definitely some peculiar swag, and just want to give my man a shout out.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys have a lot of guys that have some style. I mean, you mentioned Blaze and Miles. Josh Byrne had some cool looks in Canada, with the Raptors jersey. I think Jake Fricaro, rocks his look as well. So you all are probably one of the most swaggiest teams when it comes to being off the field.
Yeah, I think that those guys have some things going for them, so hopefully they can keep the party going.
All right, number 4. Who is someone in the lacrosse community that you admire or look up to, whether it's a coach, teammate, or even an opponent?
Honestly, there's 2 right now that I look up to. One is Scott Ratliff. Scott's been a teammate of mine in the past, and Scott has really been, since I graduated college, an inspiration for pursuing what I love, and on the mental side and approaching life and being positive. So he's been one that's really been there for me and been a mentor for me. And recently too, this season's been awesome. Getting to know Mark Ossini, and Mark Ossini on my team has an awesome story. Also does a lot of mental training, and I've been working with him this season as well. So those are 2 guys that I think have really made a positive impact in my life, just how they carry themselves and things like that. So those would be the first 2 that come to mind.
No, this is some great picks. There. I think I like what Scott's been doing too on social media. He, like you said, he really does keep it positive in every post. We need a little more of that on Twitter, I think. So I like that approach to it.
Absolutely.
All right, number 5. What is your current lacrosse stick setup in terms of shaft, head, and stringing? Have you ever thought about using a crankshaft at any point?
I have never used a crankshaft and would never do such a thing. I don't know what the benefit of that is, but not one that I would be pursuing. I've had a special relationship with the guys from East Coast High since I graduated, and I think it's one thing to be a sponsored athlete and use product that you're given, but ECD has always been a company that I've loved everything from their mesh to being a part of their first head with the Mirage. And then now, as the Rebel has come out, the Rebel offense is what I use. Love the face shape, and it's just so consistent. So I use that, and then I've really stuck with their Focus Scandium shaft. I've never been much of a carbon fiber guy, and I know they're doing great things with the carbon fiber, but the Focus is light, and it's a really good setup. So I use that with the Hero 2.0 mesh. And it's really worked well for me since I graduated. So I'm extremely thankful to have formed a good relationship with those guys.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I was only poking fun with the crankshaft thing. We all know that was a fad that never even got off the ground when we were younger.
There are some funny ones that have come up in our lifetime.
Oh, no, for sure. And Adam really wishes he could have been on here. He actually played at E-Town with Greg when Greg was a senior and he was a freshman. So, we're big fans of East Coast Dies as well. He's a little bummed he couldn't be on this podcast, but I'm sure we'll have you on again some other time, and we'll have to have Greg join us as well.
Absolutely.
But that wraps up the first 5 questions. Now we go to the second group of 5. What was your favorite class to take at Duke?
Wow, favorite class at Duke. Jeez, I wasn't really prepared for this one. I'm going to have to stall for a couple seconds while I come up with my favorite class. I think the favorite class that I had was a business, entrepreneurial class with Ed T. He does, a markets and management, all-encompassing business class, that a lot of people take at Duke. And he's a really sharp guy, has a lot of, financial industry knowledge and experience. And he was really, critical in kind of the way that he kind of would teach us to think about business. So he was my favorite class, by far.
No, that's great. It seems like, you've really taken some of his advice too with your own businesses.
Hoping to.
Yeah, but you're really involved in lacrosse, but is there anything you like to do, any hobbies or activities you do when you're not on the lacrosse field?
Honestly, one of the things that's become a big hobby for me is trying different food. I've been fortunate to be living out in LA for the past year, and there's so many restaurants out here that, I really enjoy trying different types of cuisines and going to different restaurants and tapas and things like that. So, there's really not food these days that I don't like to eat or try. So it's something that, in my free time and in the evenings, I find myself going to a lot of different places. And it's hard to say that it's a hobby because it's not like I food vlog or anything like that, but, just kind of trying all different types of food. And, that experience has been something that I've really enjoyed doing. So I kind of, everywhere I go, I kind of look to have a good meal and find different places to try.
Good answer, because it kind of leads into my next question, and I can kind of guess where you're going to probably go with it. But do you prefer to dine in, take out, or cook at home?
I definitely don't cook at home. I don't. I make phenomenal PB&Js, and I do a good bowl of cereal. But I definitely look to eat out. Just kind of manage. But I definitely enjoy going out to eat and trying different food. So that's kind of my go-to.
Awesome. All right, going off of that, what is your favorite place to visit when you're back in Baltimore?
Well, I would say a couple things. My favorite places to visit, I really enjoy going to Riley's Oysters. So there's one downtown in Phil Hill, but also one in Padonia Road near where I live. So I love going there for food and kind of catching up with family and friends. And then also, I enjoy going downtown to Federal Hill. I have a few friends that have places down there, and getting to catch up with a close group of friends from high school. So I would say besides seeing family, those are two things that I kind of always look to do when I'm back in Baltimore.
That's awesome. I'm a big fan of Fed Hill. I actually grew up in the Northern Virginia area. My parents are from Baltimore, but I have a lot of relatives there, so I tend to go out there whenever I'm back in that area.
Absolutely.
All right, the final one. What's a book on your bookshelf that you've read or are reading right now that you'd recommend to a teammate or a friend?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. There was one I just read recently, but it's not coming to mind. It's actually the story of I'm forgetting the actual name, but I believe it was The Hunting of El Chapo.
Oh,
and it's
awesome.
It's one that I picked up in the airport, and it's just a really good story. I'm not too involved in history, but this was one that kind of caught my attention, and read the whole thing. It was like 300 pages, and it was a really exciting story just to hear about how these two agents were able to track his footsteps, track him down, and the whole story of the cartel. So that was one that I found really fascinating, and I thought it was a good mix up to kind of the self-help, typical books that people tend to read. But I'm hoping to get into this book that was recently recommended called Range. How a generalist can survive in a specialist world. So that's the next one that's in my crosshairs to get to reading.
Oh, that's interesting. That might be something up my alley. I'm always looking, kind of like you said, for those self-help books and kind of, how to up my game. So I'm definitely going to have to check that one out. Well, that wraps up the 5 and 5. I like to end with a final question with all our guests, and that's what advice do you have for a young lacrosse player who's looking to play one day at the pro level?
The biggest advice that I could give to anyone that's looking to play is right now in lacrosse, there's so many resources between coaches, between YouTube, between watching games on TV. And the biggest way that I always learned was from watching players that were older than me, going out in the backyard and trying to emulate things that they did. And so I think if you're a young player, the more that you can watch and learn about the game, it's going to make you smarter. So that's the biggest thing that I'm thinking for players right now is the more time you spend and are willing to be a student and a fan of the game, and it's going to help you kind of dream about things that you can do going forward. Set your goals high. Don't stop. Don't let anyone kind of tell you what you are or you can or can't be. just keep reaching for more. And as long as you're having fun with it, the sky is the limit. And it's not always about being the actual best. There can only be a couple of those people, but it's about being your personal best and just continuing to strive for improvement and enjoying, the game each and every day.
No, that's some great advice, Deemer. And, they can certainly watch you and the Chaos, on NBC with the Premier Lacrosse League. Thank you so much for your time. I want to just say it's been great having you. You can tell you have a lot of gratitude on where you're at in your career, and, you have a lot of desire, to continue to improve. So I think you're, like you said, I don't think you're at your peak yet. I think you're just, scratching the surface. So we'll be looking forward to watching you, the rest of this season.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your support. Really appreciate your time and having me on, and hope to be back on with you guys talking lacrosse in the future. So hopefully, anyone listening, we got a few more, Women of Troy fans for the USC Women's Lacrosse season coming up in 2020.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And before we wrap up, Deemer, can you tell people where they can follow you on social media or find you?
Absolutely. So you can find me, my personal page at @TutuClassy on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can also follow my business at First Class Lacrosse on Instagram. I'm posting a lot of drills, film breakdown, and then I've even built out an online platform where players and coaches can subscribe to get, a next level of training and instruction. So stuff that I've really been focused on. Hope you find it helpful, and always happy to answer questions and interact with anyone that's willing to learn about the game.
All right, thank you, Deemer, so much. Appreciate you coming on with me, and best of luck in the playoffs.
Awesome. Thanks, Hutton. Have a great week.
You too, Deemer.